64. You'll want the regular one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 32 for some like operating systems. It's like a lesser. I don't know the difference actually. They're just different. So okay. So this time, like we said in the meeting, we want this meeting to be just a time where we can help us be more efficient in our estimating department. So Bluebeam is something that I know well and want to share with you guys some of the things that have helped us all to be more efficient, but be thinking of other things as they come up, even if it's just learning about kind of stuff not to miss in estimates. And like if I could probably, I said this to you, I got some stuff I could share in that too, but we've got a lot of wisdom in here. So, but today what we wanted to go over is, and I apologize, it's a little small, but we're going to review the document processing and batch linking that we did, I guess, a couple weeks ago. I'm just going to run through that again. Just hopefully it's fresh and you guys are able to do it. We'll see if you guys are practicing. And then we're going to go over takeoffs in Bluebeam and using the tool chest, which is, if you think of on-screen takeoff, the conditions window on the left, that's like all your takeoffs where they are stored, and we can kind of database all those in Bluebeam and use them for future jobs. And then we also have profiles, which is the way Bluebeam looks to you, what tools are available. So hopefully by using all those things, we can be more efficient. Okay? Hopefully, right? So go ahead and let's open up the architectural Viola set that is in that folder. And we're going to run batch link. So, so does anybody know the first step for doing batch link is processing the drawings? Does anybody remember?
Batch link meaning
hyperlinking the drawings.
Yeah.
This thing doesn't seem to be opening.
Yeah, the bookmarks. Looks like it's, just give it a second. Try clicking it one more time, double clicking. Go ahead and minimize this. These are all architectural, so that's good.
We're in the right spot now?
Yeah, it should be open. So bookmarks. So yes, that is the first place we go. So you have your tab here on the left. You want to click on the bookmarks tab. Disconnect. Is anybody there on the phone? And guess not. So yeah, perfect. So if you don't see this tab over here, you can click it with this blue button here and open it. Sometimes it can be closed. Right. So you hit the bookmarks. So hit the bookmarks up above right here, this sign, Rob. Right here.
Okay.
And then we're going to create the bookmarks by clicking on the Create Bookmarks button. And that little guy right there.
This one here? That one.
Yeah. And then we're going to create from page region, and then we're going to select the page region. One more, right? That one. And page region. And so then you can zoom in, and then hit select. Into your, if you go to a page that has, by zooming over and kind of get a closer look at a sheet where the title block is. Everybody there? And so then draw a box around. It'll give you a little saying that's what it is. And this, for this example, I'm not going to add words. I'm just going to leave it as this.
Just a drawing number.
We'll say OK. And then I want to do it for all pages. And then I hit OK. working? It's taking longer for the set.
It does.
Sometimes that can mean there's a lot of layers in the sheet. All right, so let's see what we got. So it looks like I've got an error here. Does anybody else have this error? Okay. So we can look in, if you click on that bookmark, and you can see why maybe it did, and it looks like probably went a little too far and it got in this reference north symbol. So for this one, I'm just going to double click on it.
Which sheet is that?
AO36.
Mine came through, actually.
Yeah, so maybe I did my box too big.
Yep.
So I can just double click and edit it, delete the first part, make it right. If there were too many errors, I could maybe run it again, but it looks like there's just a few. I'm going to double click on this one, do the same thing. I'm just making it so it's just the sheet title. These are the kind of things you kind of learn as you do more of these. Where you draw that box can either add time or save time. You can kind of do some trial and error. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and manually change them. So A11OA, looks like there's a few down here. A1142. Okay.
How do I know if mine's right or wrong here?
Looks like we grabbed a little too much. So we're gonna. So in the case where you want to redo it, you can click on one, and then say the easiest way is Control A, which selects them all,
Okay.
and delete them all. And go ahead and do it one more time. So now select and draw a smaller box around that area. And you can zoom in too. Yeah. And draw just so it just gets those letters. And okay. And then okay. Okay. So next step. Anybody? The page labels. Yep. So now we made sure they're all correct, all of the sheet titles. So now we're going to transfer those to the page labels. So you click on the thumbnail view up here, which is the little 4 squares next to the bookmark tab. And then we click on Create Page Labels, which has the little star thing there. And we're going to create it from bookmarks. Hit OK. Then voila. Instantly, it transferred them all over. And if you notice, page 1 wasn't there. So because there was nothing, it just did nothing on the bookmarks view. So you kind of have to be careful and mindful of that. It could skip. So we don't want this to just be 1. We'll call this cover. So I'm going to double click on the page label and say cover. Just type in cover. And I'm going to quickly scroll through and just double check if there are any other pages that maybe just have a number. Looks like I'm good. Okay, does that make sense so far? Okay. Now the next step. Everybody? We got the page labels. So everything.
Is that looking correct there, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sweet. So double click on the 1 and change that to cover. That's right. So we start the batch link. So under File, and then Batch, and then Link, and New, and New Batch Link brings you this. So we're going to say Add Open Files, because that's the only one we have open right now. So that's easy, right? Okay. And then if you had multiple files, you could add a folder here, but we're just doing the 1 file. So we could do the architectural, the structural, the MEP, all those at once the batch link if we wanted to.
So I'm over here, Stuart, and I click on what now?
So link and then new.
So even if they're extracted, you have a link.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's all relative to where it is in the file. So if you have a folder called plans and then a folder called architectural, structural, yada, 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 and files within all those, you can say batch link. And so instead of just when you click on A106 in the title sheet, instead of it jumping to that place in the same PDF, it'll jump and open that other file wherever it is in the folder structure. So so it's just a hyperlink to open a document instead of a hyperlink to jump to a place in a document. So if you had a huge file, and this is actually what they do in the field, they use each page as its own sheet. Each sheet is its own file. Because on iPads, to load up 200 meg takes forever. So instead, you just load it up so you can just open up the files that you need and then just link and open up that one little file. So you're opening lots of little files instead of 1 mega. So, but I think for estimating, I like at least to have everything combined. There's some other reasons we'll talk about too that I think is better.
You mean like architecture to structural? You like that?
I kind of like the whole thing in one, but it's not that much different to have just the arcs and just the structs.
Right.
So if you go kind of, that's to your preference.
Now you got something there that I don't have. I missed a
So
step
click
somewhere.
Add Open Files,
Okay.
and then so click Next.
All right.
So now we want to go by page label over here on the left, and then we'll double check our settings. So click on Settings up here on the right side. We just did the sheet title, so we don't need this filter. I could turn it off, no filter, or it doesn't really matter. I could leave it on. So you could just hit OK, that's fine. But if you have more stuff, that's where you change it. Hit Generate, and then that gives you your lists. Once you click Generate on your top right here, and then you see it makes your list from your page labels. Now this is everything that Bluebeam is going to look for to link to. So we're going to click on Link Options, double check. I'm going to turn on my highlight links. I made it blue. You can have yours probably yellow by default.
It's yellow, yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. Everything else you can leave the same. And go ahead and hit Run.
Okay.
Is that you, David?
Hey, yeah, sorry I'm late.
All right.
I got distracted by our favorite waterproofer.
It's all right. We were just reviewing batch linking and hyperlinking.
I'm getting my
Okay, yeah, I was actually just practicing that on the, we got a little Hillsdale stuff to do here, so.
Starting to share with all the rest of you. Yeah. Who gets a cold in the summertime, for God's sake?
So it says batch links complete. You just go finish and close that, or?
Yeah, it'll tell you how many links it made. Mine's lagging a little bit.
Mine says 0.
Mine says 900 and something.
Hyperlinks created 0. Did you generate your labels? So this is what mine says, 974.
Should I go back?
So you can either, I wonder if you can hit back and it'll go back to that. I haven't done that, but that's good. Did you run for all pages? It should be going for all pages.
Went through this whole process.
Yeah, sometimes if it doesn't have text on the page, like if it either a scan page or whatever reason, sometimes the structurals are fine. They don't have selectable text. It'll just skip it.
So it says search in 0. So everything was checked. Page label. Go back.
And when you make all the labels, it looks, there's not like a space before or
maybe.
That was that, right?
Yeah, that was
So next.
try double clicking on one of these. Double click. Oh, you know what it is? I think this doesn't have the A for the AOO.
Oh, so it just grabbed the numbers.
Yeah, it's the numbers.
You mean like you told him to do?
So we just need to,
Ah.
so you'd redo your bookmarks probably to include that and then transfer them over. Or you could actually just run it straight from, so I'm here on the batch link, and so if you just click page region,
Okay.
and then select,
Select.
and then you're just right back and picking the right area. So the only problem here is you don't have a chance to check and kind of change them if they're wrong, but you can redraw your box, just like we did for bookmarks. Make sure, like, if you see my screen, probably do it about that much around. And hit OK, and then generate from that. Yeah, so you don't have to do the bookmarks and the page labels and then this. That's just a way that we found is good. So now I generated that, and it made a list of, it's actually pretty good. I don't have any errors. I could tweak them here even if I wanted. Yep.
So the A's came up. Because I was just cutting a little too.
I want to go back to see that list.
You would have to go back.
Back?
So,
Okay.
but you already did it. You did it good.
Okay.
So.
Hey, Stuart,
Yeah.
do you have to run OCR for the hyperlinks to work?
So this document was already straight from the architect.
Okay. I'm working on my own here. I've been actually trying to do this here.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just wondering, it probably has to be you have to OCR it and then
Yeah, so if it's a scanned sheet, like a DSA set or something like that, yeah, the best would be to run OCR. When you do the page labels by, grabbing that region,
yeah,
we do it with bookmarks first, it actually runs its own little OCR right in that square.
okay, so that's why that works.
It'll still grab that text, but like, for instance, here, the title sheet, it wouldn't link all to these because it doesn't know that that's text. So like,
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, so ideally, you wouldn't have to run OCR because it's already there. But
probably should.
Okay, because it's not, yeah, the hyperlinking for my file is not working.
It's not doing it.
No.
Yeah, so it looks like.
So I'm running OCR and
I got mine
I'll see if that works.
950.
Oh.
You're close.
So should I just go finish and close?
Yeah.
Keep moving on.
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
And so if you look here,
kind of know this job anyway.
so we've got in the title sheet just something to notice. So if you go to the page 2 and then look at the title sheet here.
Stuart, can you share your screen?
Oh, have I not been?
Please.
There you go. That means I've been recording blackness. Thank you. You see it
Oh,
now?
this makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah. That's funny. So, so I'm looking on the title sheet, and remember we only did the architectural, so not everything's going to be linked. But on my list of arcs, I've got A0023 is non-existent. So this could mean that it's in the title sheet, but not in the body of. So let's jump to A22, and then let's just scroll down, and you're right, there's no A23.
Do I have to close this box, Stuart, so I can access?
You have to hit finish and close in the middle,
Okay.
and then yeah, you can jump to.
Right there, A030.
So, and then you can jump back. Yeah, see? You can jump back to the title sheet by either clicking the back button here, previous view. But yeah, you can see there's several. So A2331. Over here we got A1151. We can double check that. So 43, and then let's scroll down. Yeah, it goes straight to 1201. So it's another check right now for the title sheet, at least, to the document. That's one, but you only know that if you do the highlights. So that's one benefit of using highlights. Okay? So that was a little longer than I thought taken on that, but does that make sense to everyone? It's familiar, right? Now it should be the third time you guys have done that, hopefully. So let's let's start with takeoffs now. So so let's jump to the floor plan. So if we go to the title sheet, we can look. Where is that floor plan? Mark 200. So we go to A.
Basement plan is 80200.
Oh, it's 02. So A2 construction plan, lower level. So A0200, click on it. Okay. So I'm going to do a room takeoff, a classroom 43. Just assume, you know, I need that. So I'm going to zoom in to classroom 43, which is kind of bottom middle. And what I can do is go up here to measure. And then there's all these different types of conditions. I'm going to choose area. And then I'm going to start drawing on it. So I can zoom around and I click once. Oops. So click area, click once, and then you just kind of are making your area condition. So it actually, you see snaps to the content, which sometimes is nice, sometimes it's kind of annoying, but I generally like it. So then I'm just following the outline of the room, and I can zoom in as I'm doing by holding down Control and scrolling. And if I hold down Shift while I'm holding down, it makes it so it doesn't lock in like perpendicular directions. So then when I get all the way around the room, I'll double click Finish. And yours may look a little different than this. But the point I want to make is when you just grab the conditions from up here on top, there's one default formatting, and that's what it always is when you grab from here. So you can change that to be something particular. So if I click on the pointer, and then I click on my markup I just did, and then you right-click and say Properties, you'll notice our little window here popped out. So then I could come in here and I could change the subject to classroom, and then the label to, let's say, level 1, or I guess this is basement, huh? And then if you notice, the label shows up here in the actual area. So it's the label, not the subject, that shows up when you turn on the caption. So let's just move down to appearance, the color. This color is the color of the actual line that goes around. So if I wanted it to be blue, you can see it's kind of blending in with the black, but that outline is now blue. See? Fill color, you can click on that and we can change it to, you could call it red. We could do a light, nice blue. Notice highlight is checked so you can see through it. You could turn on a hatch pattern if you wanted and change the color of that hatch pattern. I'm just kind of going through these appearance options. So you got the color, which is the outline, fill color, hatch. You can change the hatch pattern color to like yellow. So lots of customizing you can do, right?
So is this under what heading?
Oh, under the Properties tab. So if I right-click on the actual takeoff and then click Properties, I can get to it. Or it's this little gear icon.
Try to click on it like this first.
Right down there.
Maybe right in the middle.
Yeah. There it goes. Oh, interesting.
So I can also just click on it over here on the right on this tab. I can.
Right. Yeah, I kind of jumped right to the scale
Ah, yeah.
because I saw what your square footage was.
Ah, right.
So I kind of went that way.
Gotcha. Right. Which brings up a very good point. Thank you, Mark. I was supposed to mention that first. What's the first thing you do when you do a takeoff on any sheet? Check the scale, right? So I blew that test. So if you click on this Measurements tab, which is right next to the Properties, you've got a scale option. So I'm going to zoom out a little and find the scale for the sheet. So I can double check it. Looks like it's right above the tile sheet, and it's 1/8 and 10. So I'm just going to type in, you can just put in the fraction 1 divided by 8, and 1 feet. I said 1/8 and 10, but I meant 8 for 1 foot.
Then don't you have to hit store, scale, and page?
Yeah, so right now, this saves it for now on this page, but if I go to another page and then change this, it'll lose that. So you click on Store, Scale, and Page if you're doing any takeoffs that you want to have reliable info on. So now it looks like we got a 330 square foot classroom, which sounds more right.
It does.
And your precision, if I wanted to change this to, you could change your precision to the decimal points here. You could do 1, just 0.1. If I change this is something me and Mark found out. Under here on the scale where it says 1/8 and 1 foot, if I change this foot to foot inches, or yards or anything, it will give me now my precision into the nearest 1/2 inch down to 1/32 of an inch. So if you want to see things in decimal, like lengths, sometimes you do. Sometimes you want to see how many inches, feet and inches it is. So this is where you would change that. And that's where it would differ in the display. I'm going to keep it on just feet, so it's decimal. Okay? So now, if I wanted to do another area, I've done all this work to format this nicely. I'm going to do another area, and I want it to be kind of the same. I click on my area tool up here, and I start drawing again. I'm just going to do a nice big round box. And it went back to that old one, which is ugly, and I don't want. So there's a way to make your default be whatever you want it to be. So let's click on the one we just changed. So the first one that we did, where we changed the formatting. And if you go, you have to click on it, so it activates it and gives the little dots around it. And then if you go to the Properties tab, and then scroll to the very bottom, there is a little thing here under Options. You guys all see that? Called Add to My Tools or Set as Default. So if I wanted to, anytime I come and grab an area tool to look like this, I just click Set as Default, and then now they're all going to look like that moving forward. So you kind of find whatever works for you as your basic takeoff, and then set that as your default, and then you can always tweak it after you perform it. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's kind of like level 1. Now, if we're going to get serious about doing some takeoffs, we're going to use the tool chest. So over here on the left, we've got a tool chest little option, and if you don't have it, you can always click on this tab access. It's the little yellow thing right there, and then turn on, tool chest. But so now we've got a few different tools. Yours may look a little different than mine, but you've got always My Tools at the top, and then Recent Tools, and then there's other, they're called tool sets. So under My Tools, here where it says Add to My Tools, so you could add this to one of these tool chests by clicking here and adding it to, you know, one of these tool chests here. What I like to do is every time you make a markup, it shows up on your recent tools here. So the one we did is this blue one. So if I wanted to save this, I can drag it to another tool set. And so before I do that, I'm going to make a tool set to drag it to. So it's going to be my new Stewart's Awesome tool set. So we click up here on the Manage Tool Sets. And this is a little technical here. You won't have to do this a lot. This is just setting it up for the first time, but I want to show you how. So you click on this Manage Tool Set, and then it'll give you a list of any tool sets you have. Yeah, I have a lot more.
Like 4.
Yeah. So what we'll want to do is add one, and let's call it maybe General for now. And then you want to show in all profiles. Yeah, for this time, let's make it show in all profiles. And then it'll ask you for a path, and it should probably take you to this default location, which is roaming, Bluebeam software review 15. So just go ahead and hit save. That's kind of the main place.
Hit OK now, Stuart.
And then hit save. And then hit OK. And so now you'll notice down here it showed up at the bottom. And I have a few more than you guys probably. So I'm going to just close all these other ones. And I have General now. And so what you can do is from your recent, you can just drag it right in to your tool chest. You see? So just drag it right in, and then you'll notice if I double click on it, it turns to just the place mode. So that means, and if I come over my sheet here, it's like dropping the entire thing on. So if you had something where it was a 10 by 10 room, yada, 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 you could just drop it and click it around. Or if you had a different custom, sorry for all my sound effects, but if you had a room takeoff that was maybe a floor finish, carpet, CT1 or something, if you double click on it, it goes to properties mode. And so that's kind of a toggle. If I double click it, it changes from just the copy mode to properties mode. So now if you notice, it's just my markup, so I can click and drag my takeoff, and whatever shape it is, it just has the same format. Does that make sense? Properties mode, copy mode. Now, one more thing I like, so if we click on the general, this little gear right here, so we click on the gear, and then instead of symbol to detail, now it shows that little symbol, but now it says what the subject is. So here's where you really get into the takeoff workflow. So the idea is you build up this tool chest to have all your standard takeoffs, and you can label them right here. So this could be carpet. And then I can very easily right-click and duplicate it. And let's click on the second one. I'm going to change this to tile. And so these right now are formatted the exact same, which I don't necessarily want. So let's click on the tile. And then on my Properties tab, this is now the properties for this tile markup in my tool set. So let's change it to the fill color. So remember, I'm clicking on tile, and then change the fill color to, let's call it orange. And let's take off my hatch. So none hatch. Still want it highlighted. Here's where I could turn off the caption. So sometimes you want to have every single markup that says what it is and how much square footage it is. Sometimes you don't. I'm going to turn off the caption on this one. So now I can do a takeoff of this next room. And let's do it in one click. So if you click and hold down your first click and then drag, it'll draw a square. And you'll notice that it stays as a perfect square. So still while you're holding down your click, hold down Shift, and then it makes it so it can be a rectangle. Does that make sense? So I'll do it one more time. So the point here is to be able to make a square or rectangle in just one click rather than clicking each corner. So if I am on my tile mode, and if I click once and hold down to click on my one corner, and then I drag down, and then in order to make it a rectangle, I have to hold down Shift. I'm still holding down my first click, and I'm holding down Shift at the same time, and then I let go of my click, and then it makes it so I can make a rectangle. So it can be quick. If you've got a lot of square rectangle takeoffs, instead of clicking around, on screen doesn't do that. That's one thing I like about Bluebeam. So now you can see it's pointing, and I can jump to carpet now, click on carpet, and then do another takeoff with carpet. And so that's where you start getting efficient with Bluebeam. You can use this button up here, the shortcuts, just to the area, linear, measure tools, but you're having to reformat every single time. So you save your formatted markups in your tool chest, and that's what you want. So now the great thing is you don't have to start from scratch. So let's go to the File menu and go into Tool Sets of that file that you downloaded from the Q drive. So if you go to your File Explorer, Rob, the
Tool Sets?
Yeah, so click on that one. And then click on Tool Sets, and then go ahead and click on the Area Study. And it says, do you want to import it? Or I guess it says, I already have one. So I'm not going to do it because it's the same one. So now you should have, turn on my
Mine just doesn't import it.
Yeah.
So mine.
So mine, because I already have one of the same one, just got to find. So now if you look, I'm just going to import it. So now it probably dropped into the bottom. And so let's go ahead and change the properties mode to detail instead of symbol. So you right click on, or you click on the gear. And then this is some that I've used for just kind of area studies. So floor 1, floor 2 roof, those kind of things, site. So you click on it, and then it's already formatted for each of those three things, and it's already labeled. And so this is a way that you can share and utilize other tool sets that people have already gone through the time to make. It's very easy. Boom, now they're all here.
So I clicked on floor 1, but what does it get me?
So now you can click, and now if I start a takeoff, that's floor 1. And so if I click on it, you'll notice that the subject says floor 1, and it's formatted this certain way. Floor 2, if I do another takeoff and click on it, I'm clicking the pointer select, which in order to click on it and select it. And then that says floor 2, and it's formatted a different way. So it's just like an on-screen where you have your different conditions. This is where you go to start those. Does that make sense? Kind of? More or less?
More or less.
And so let's go ahead and let's do a perimeter markup real quick. So under the measure tab, since we don't have one that's linear, so like a wall, let's do one for a drywall partition. So since we don't have one yet on here, let's come under the measure menu and then linear. And I'm going to use perimeter. The difference between length and perimeter, length is only one segment. You can only do one segment. Perimeter is multiple. So I'm going to click on perimeter under measure, linear, perimeter. And now if I click, and I should really be doing something, I should do it real. So linear, perimeter, let's take off this concrete wall. If I click, you can kind of follow it along, and then I just double click to finish. Now mine, it's just this red line, and that's kind of the default formatting. So then if I click on the pointer, select, and then I can click on this tool, this markup that we just did. Now I can change the formatting, and let's make it a green line. The fill color doesn't matter because there's nothing filled. Let's change the line width. Again, I'm under the Properties tab. Let's change the line width to 4. Let's make sure this is a highlight so I can see through it. I could even change the style here to a dashed line if I wanted, but I'm going to keep it solid. I'm going to turn off the caption. And that's going to be, oh, I have to change the subject, right? So it's not just a measurement. This is going to be concrete wall. I'm going to take away my label just so I have nothing. And so that's all like formatting type stuff. So with this measurement, we also can put in wall height. So is everybody good on the formatting? So if we click on the measurements tab over here on the right, I have to actually click on this again since I clicked off it. So now it's showing me the measurement properties for this takeoff. And if I scroll down, you've got its depth under the measurements tab here. So depth is the height. So depth is the same for an area condition. It's the depth that's really your thickness. They just use the term depth. So I can have here my depth, which is my wall height of 8 feet. Make sure feet, I can do feet inches if I wanted, but I'm just going to keep it in feet. And now it can show me the wall area. And that's what it calls your area of one side, like on screen, surface area one side. So that makes sense. So you can put a depth on areas and linears. So let's see what we've been doing. Let's open up the measurements tab, which is this bottom window. And the great thing about Bluebeam is that it tracks all of your measurements, whether it's a markup, whether it's a takeoff, all down here in the same spot. Now you'll notice that all of our highlights show up in here, which is from our hyperlinking. So the way to get rid of those is to sort by subject. So just click on the subject here. And then we want to find these highlights. So scroll down the list so you see the highlight. Click on the first one. And then scroll down until you find the last one. We're going to hold down Shift and select them all. 900, so there's a lot. So hold down Shift and then click on the last one. and then right-click. Oh, so you have to right-click on one actually in the window. So just right-click somewhere on the page while they're all selected. Dang it. Because you have to click on one actually, not just on white. Oh, sorry. Go back and select them all again.
You delete it?
No, well you could, but I'm going to flatten it. And flattening makes it so it's still there, but it's no longer the markup list, it's part of the page. So right click. So, okay, one more time, I'm going to select them. Shift, hold down, and under the document menu, we have flatten. Click on flatten, and I'm going to flatten selected markups only, and I'm going to allow markup recovery. I'm going to make sure it's going for all pages. So,
Center property
so document
and see that.
up top, yeah, and then flatten. So make sure everything's selected first. Document, flatten, selected markups, and then click flatten. So this is a way too, if you have something you want to send to a sub and you've done some markups and you don't want them to be able to change it, you can flatten them, and then no matter what they look at, they can't change it or tweak it, or you have to change it. It's just part of the page now.
It's like a PDF.
Yeah, it's in the PDF instead of like a text box on top. Like you can flatten anything.
If you flatten the links, will they still work though? Or?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So now our markups list. So you can, yeah, you can cancel. Is everyone going real slow?
Yeah, mine's taking.
Oh, really? So go ahead and cancel it. And so now basically that just freed up my markups list. So if you look down here, you've got all these columns. These are all customizable, but you can sort it by subject. So I'm going to click on my carpet, and it jumps to that place in your takeoff. So here's my two classrooms. Every time I click on it, it jumps to that spot. So that's kind of nice when you're doing takeoffs. You can find something really quick that way. On screen, you kind of have to just search. And then text boxes will show up down here. It's not just takeoffs. It'll be any kind of markups that you place. And so under, if you scroll, let's see, yours may be different, but you can choose which columns show up by clicking on the columns button. And then let's click on wall area. So then it'll add it here. Yours may look a little different. But so I clicked on columns and then chose wall area, and you'll notice for that concrete wall, it gives me my 272 square feet. So that's where it shows you your area and the different properties. So you'll notice everything's kind of, it's not very clean. So I'm going to have you guys import in a profile, which is basically just a look and how everything's formatted. So it's better for just for takeoff. So it's going to show me what my length, my area, my wall area, all right next to each other instead of the color so much, you know. Okay. So let's go back to our file and go under profiles. And let's open up takeoff one screen. And then it should ask you, just double click on it.
You want to override it?
when I did it from?
Yes.
Sequences.
Yes. So go ahead and overwrite, because basically it's just saying you guys already have it, and that's what I made it from. There.
Yep.
So hit OK again, and then try doing it one more time. Yeah. Yeah, the second time it worked. I don't know why. That's weird. Okay. So now it's all be on the same one. We'll just kind of shift it around things. So if you'll notice, now when you open up your markups list, it's just the subject and page, label, and then area, length, count, volume. It's all right there. It's more set up for doing takeoffs. But now the cool thing is look at your tool chest. And now you've got a bunch of tool sets. And these are mine, so I apologize ahead of time if things look screwy or weird or silly. You can change them. But I've tried to break out by spec sections, kind of the way I organize my tool sets, or more by division, really.
So you got site concrete.
Yeah, so yeah, I kind of broke out 32 a little more. Well, I guess, did I just do one for site? Oh yeah, I have site, landscape. Yeah, so I should put, my naming convention isn't consistent, but so basically now you have a starting place now for takeoffs where you can come down here to metal and click chain link 4 foot, do a takeoff.
You have a place for it.
Yeah, but the cool, so now I did it, you find something that's closest, and then I can always tweak the actual properties of the actual one in my file. So I click on this, I could click on, if I just did a whole sheet of all these, I could select them all at once, and then come here to the properties, change the name, change the color, change the height, change anything. So, yeah. So there's the balance of, so you can have a super detailed database that's really big and long of everything you could ever want here in your tool chest, which could be great, but could be take a long time to get through. Or you kind of have the main ones, and then you just tweak them a little as you put them.
Wasn't that the goals to kind of like have a database for each trade?
Yeah,
Would it be light fixtures 2x4 under electrical or outlets, or it could be,
Yeah. So the question is, how detailed do you get?
Yeah, but in general, have a checklist, I think, is important.
I agree.
You don't need 4 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot, 10 foot, 12 foot. You can start just saying 6 foot and 4 foot.
And that's the point I was making. So yeah, so maybe you just kind of have the general ones, but you want to hit all those as a checklist to find out what are all the main items that you would need.
Compact fluorescence, lights, switches, whatever.
Right. So what do I have in electrical? I don't think I have much. Again, this is just kind of as I was going. So in ceiling, fixture, exterior LED. I think this was for a specific takeoff, and I just saved these.
But it's good.
But so yeah, that's how you get started.
Yeah,
so
you can take the interior, let's say, fixture, LED or fluorescent or whatever.
And so the cool thing, remember how we saved to our tool set? So if you come up to our recent tools, so again, if I'm going to click on this chain link 4 foot, and I'm going to change this to, this is actually chain link 6 foot. I'm going to go to my measurements tab, and I'm going to change the depth 6. And so now, and I'm actually going to change the color. If I go to the properties, I'll change it to orange. So now, you see this shows up exactly how I just formatted it in my recent tools. And I can now drag this down into my metal. Drag this down into my metal. And now here's my chain link 6 foot right next to my 4 foot that I just made. I could have also right-clicked and duplicated it and then changed the properties that way. So on-screen, we would typically, what's nice about on-screen is it automatically picks a new color every time you do a new condition. So that's one nice thing that this does not do. It doesn't randomize like that. But if you do the upfront work of setting this up, then it becomes a non-issue because you can just select it from your tool chest. And so we've just made my takeoff one screen profile. So if I wanted to change back to a profile that, I'm not doing all this stuff, you can just click on like the construction one. So if I click on the arrow next to my little man, which is the profiles icon at the bottom right of the screen, and you can click on the different profiles that are there. So construction is one that comes default. So if you click on construction, let's make some changes. So let's see, what would we want to change? We're about at our time limit, but I'm just going to show this last. So let's change the columns that show in the markups list. So I open up the markups list, and I click on columns, and then it gives me all these options. So I'm going to check length, and I'm going to click it again. I'm going to turn on area, and I'm going to take off the date. Then I can also click and drag these around. So I'm going to move color over further to the right. It really doesn't matter where I'm doing this. So now once I say I get this exactly how I want it, I click over to this profile little drop down again, and you just click Save Profile. And now every time I jump to this profile, it's going to save and open just how I just formatted it. So you can transfer that to just the thickness. So if I want this to be thinner, if I want this to be closed when it opens, and if I don't want to see the spaces, right click and I can hide this, and I can hide my links. All I want to see is just my bookmarks, and I actually want this order to be different. I'm going to have my tool chest first. I can choose what tool chest I want to be viewable by clicking here my manage tool. Sorry, I'm going fast now. So on my tool chest, if I click on this gear up at the top, I can uncheck which tool chests I want to be shown in this profile. So say if I don't want all these, I just want to see general takeoff area. Now I can come here and save this profile again. And so whenever I come back to that, that's how I want it. And I can even change the way that these look up here. So if I go to view, and you can turn off, I want to turn off the command bar, status bar, so it gets rid of that bottom thing. So the idea I want to get across is it's all completely customizable. You can make it very simple, and I can help you with that kind of on a one-on-one basis. But I can make it so you can maximize your screen area. Why don't we double-click on the two-screen takeoff? It'll be weird because we only have one screen a little bit. But basically what I did is I moved the markups list as detached. So it's big and on your second screen. And then your tool chest is also the full height and on the second screen as well. And so that just leaves more room for you to just focus on the plans on the main screen. So again, it's not going to make sense on this one-screen laptop. But when you get back to your desk, pull open the two-screen and just take a look at it. But that, in a nutshell, is takeoffs. There's a lot more we can go into, but we're not going to. So that's probably enough, wasn't it?
I have a question. If you
Yeah.
were going to switch like that yellow one
Mhm.
to the blue condition,
Mhm.
whatever you call it, how would you do that?
Great question, and I meant to talk about that. So format painter would be the best way. So if you wanted, like you just said, so we want this orange to be blue. So I'm going to click on the desired one that I want, so what I want it to match first. Just like in Word or Excel with Format Painter. So I click on this little button, Format Painter, and if it's not showing, you can right-click and you can make sure that that's part of your profile. But click on Format Painter, and then now I just click on the things that I want it to match. One thing to note, it's only format. It's not going to change the subject. So if that
Will the square footage change?
No, it'll still, that won't change yet. It's just changing the look of it. So that's, you know, this is carpet, that's tile, right? So then I'd have to just select the ones, either you can hold down Shift to select multiple from here, or you can select them from the Markups list. And then you just select multiple, come here to the measurement or the properties tab, and then change the subject for all of them at once. Yeah. So that would be. So yeah. So you can, as you can see, there's kind of some nuances. There's cool features that I like about Takeoffs with Bluebeam, but then there's some other stuff that I think on screen does better or in a simpler way. So, but you can save text box markups to a tool chest. So if you're regularly marking up drawings and giving them to subs, you can have a tool chest of kind of your annotations. So it doesn't have to be just markups that are saved here in your tool. It doesn't have to be takeoffs that are saved here in your tool chest.
How do you add count areas? Do you want area count?
It's just kind of each area shows up by itself. So by default, you have the count.
Oh, it's not showing in my count.
So it'll just show, so if you go to subject, if you sort it by subject and it has a little parentheses next to it,
That's how many times?
that's your count.
Oh, that's the count.
Yeah, so count is a different condition. So, but count's a little limited. You can only count things on one sheet at a time. Like, let me just show it. No, that's fine. That shouldn't be as complicated, right? But let's go to my one-screen takeoff. Find count. So fence gate. If I come here and let's say there's a fence gate, and it keeps in that mode until I hit escape. And then the way the counts work, and you can change it to a square or a diamond or whatever. If I click on this and I want to see it in my markups list, you see fence gate and it has count 4. So it only appears once, but then it has a count. So if you can have the same fence gate on every single page, but it's going to be one line per page. And then if I just wanted to continue this, I'd have to right-click and say resume count, and then I can add on. So now it says 6, or it'll be a whole other line.
Okay.
So that's count. It's really the only time they use count. Cutout area, or backout area. So here it shows up on the right as cutout, or under measure cutout, the measure menu up top on cutout. So if I wanted to have a backout area, I do that too, just like on screen. So you see my square footage just adjusted.
And then the space, that's like the area. Right?
Yeah, space is like the zones.
Okay.
So, yeah, so if you make a space called phase 1, everything that you take off inside that will have that phase 1 space associated with it. So I've played around with layers. You can use layers to kind of differentiate your takeoffs. I kind of use labels sometimes to have that be my breakdown. It's really, you kind of got to see what works for you. So sometimes I'll have more just like floor finishes as my subject and then CT1 as my label. So then I can always sort by all my floor finishes down here, or you can sort by just your CT1. So, yeah. And then anytime you click on one of these, it'll give you subtotals by whatever you just sorted by. So if I wanted to sort all my carpet, as you can see here, I got 448 square feet so far of carpet. If I wanted to go by page, and then, you know, that one doesn't make as much sense because it's multiple things. But you could filter out and say just classroom. If I spelled it right, that would help. And then sort. So it's just like it's an Excel spreadsheet that's very dynamic. So I think that's enough for today probably. But like I said, I'm always happy to answer specific questions. What do you guys think? I mean, this is probably your first look at takeoffs in Bluebeam, but do you see some features that you like, or does it kind of seem more like we'll just stick with on-screen? And I think as a company, we're sticking with on-screen. So, but I just wanted to get your feedback. What do you think?
I like the tool chest, because like an on-screen, you have to copy and paste everything.
Right.
Or just do a home conversion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice. Yeah, it seems like once you knew what you were doing, you got more comfortable, it would save time, be more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Plus you have your drawings
Yeah,
in front of you with the takeoff as opposed to going to a
Right.
screen and then trying to marry the two.
And it's batch linked, right? So you've done all this work to make it easy to get through. I like just like that, having it all in that same spot. I'll show you real quick. Everything's real quick with me. But just some things that I've done. So this is a takeoff for San Francisco State, where this is just paving types. And so if I click on it and open up my markups list, you can see I did paving. I did it by the label. So paving was my subject, and then label was broken out for DG versus sidewalk versus pavers. So if I wanted to just see all my paving by label, so now I know I can collapse it all. I've got this much DG, this much ramps, this much sidewalk. And so where we were before exporting into Excel, which you still can do, and then putting that into our estimate, you can sort everything right inside Bluebeam and then just hard key it into your estimate from here. But this is another one where I was showing, and I have filtered. I was showing a sub which retaining walls we wanted picked up as what. So what was going to be part of site concrete, what was going to be part of structural concrete, and what was CMU. And so I just went through and marked up just with the markup. And then it also had a takeoff too at the same time. But then you can send this to the sub, you know, extract this page as one, and then they can look at it. I made my own little legend, which is one downside to on Bluebeam. You can't have the icon legends automatic. It tells you this color is this many square feet on this page. So I just put in a text box here and did a little legend, and then, you know, these were my assumptions. Shoring, these were shorings around. So, and then easily shareable.
So how did you get to the total on that sheet, on your site sheet?
The first one, or the
Yeah, this one right here, for example.
Gotcha.
Your legend is, the red is of retaining walls?
Those are shoring. So did I have the legend on this one? I don't think I put it on this.
One of them you had it.
Yeah, so on the paving types. But basically what I did is I just went down to my markups list,
okay,
and this is like a quick filter, and then I just sorted by my type. So, and I collapsed them all. So my DG is 7,694.
And then 6,000 square feet is your 2-inch grind and overlay?
Right. So it depends how you set it up to begin with, you know. But it's all easy to get out and extract. So, cool. Any other questions?
Probably.
Yeah. And if you wanted to dock them, so I would just change to another profile right now. But yeah, you can, if you hover over, you can see where it.
So now you can get back to the bottom.
So go File, and then Window, I think, or View, and Profile. So that's how you get back to it. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Pretty good.
I was trying to be simpler, and it ended up being, I think, more. I added more stuff this time. So.
Well, there's a lot of options that I probably don't need to use.
Right. And that's.
I don't know what they mean.
And that's the key is, and that's why everyone is usually overwhelmed by Bluebeam, because there's like so much going on, like so much you can do, and for kind of nerds like me, like what I'm most stoked about and excited about is there's so much you can customize. But for people who just want to use it, yeah, like I said, you don't need it, so I don't need to see it. So hopefully we can get maybe some more standard, some like standard profiles and stuff that make it so you just need what you need and that's what you have available. So hopefully with on the
I think the idea is to be able to use it, want to use it, so you know
right
when you're going to get to your want.
Instead of like being overwhelmed by this thing,
right,
and
not using it.
See, that's where it's good for me when you only pick